Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Vivek and team, for inviting me down today. I'm Neal. I'm CTO and co-founder of Gradient Labs. And our investors are just down the road from here, actually. And in a very distant past, I did my PhD also down the road from here at UCL. So at Gradient Labs, we're building an AI agent that automates complex customer support. And there's no better domain for complexity than anything starting with fintech, especially. So right now, we're a seed stage company. We're not quite at the stage of blasting out all the logos that we're working with, but I suppose given the founding team's background, you can take an informed guess. So as Vivek was saying, AI agents are broadly this new software paradigm. And really the way that I describe it to my friends and family is that you can write something into ChatGPT and get it to give you an answer. But if you could ask it that question in 3 different ways, you'd probably overall get an even better answer. And so that's kind of the crux of what AI agents are under the hood. Just repeated calls to LLMs over and over to refine and create some sort of output for people. And the reason they are this new paradigm is not only because they enable a whole bunch of stuff that has been traditionally human to be automated, but also because we need a new way or a newer way to think about how to build these systems. And that's broadly why I'm so excited about them myself. But the age-old concern, every time we jump on a call with any company looking to join this AI agent gold rush, is safety. And in the fintech domain, bad outcomes could mean a ton of really bad things. So losing your customers complaining and you needing to report that to the regulator, not fulfilling your obligations around vulnerability and financial difficulties, and so much more. So in a traditional e-commerce environment, you get a shitty bot and you're just going to be like, all right, whatever. But in fintech, you get a really bad outcome with an AI agent, and it's probably going to make headlines somewhere. So in light of that, I'm just going to cover basically 4 broad points. And some of them echo some of the things that Vivek was just talking about. But I'll sort of balance between how we're looking at these challenges and then how we think about putting safety first when we're building our own AI agent. So the first one, this is inside of Gradient Labs, our design principle. What do humans do when they work on a task? And it turns out that if you were to ask someone, how do you go about, well, let's use Vivek's example. How do you go about booking a meeting with someone? They say, yeah, I'll just find the time and put it into the calendar. And then you drill one step deeper, and it turns out that humans actually do a lot of stuff without even thinking about it. They find the time, they check whether it's appropriate, they maybe look whether it's within working hours, they check what other meetings are side by side with that. And so there's just a lot of stuff that happens when we do work that we wouldn't put in some guidance document on how to do it. We would just assume that humans are smart enough to not book a meeting on a Saturday morning with a colleague in Tokyo. So LLMs aren't that smart. You have to think about them as if you had a very junior employee who is coming into your business, they would need to be told almost all of these things. So within the customer support domain, the technical formulation for a lot of these AI agents is this structure called retrieval augmented generation, usually shortened as RAG. So effectively what that means is you have these AI agents that are given a boatload of documents about your company, and what the AI agent can do is search those documents and then answer. And so I think that kind of highlighted to us, especially in the world of finance, is looking back at what humans would do. How often in the world of finance is search over documents and give a reply the right thing to do. And specifically in banking, that's actually very rare. So what are all these things that are happening implicitly under the hood? Somebody gets in touch with their bank. The agent, the human agent on the other side, is probably going to be looking at what they're saying, looking for signs of vulnerability. Is this customer trying to complain? What's the right team that they need to be connected to? Are they even clear in what they are saying? Are they talking about something that could mean two different things? I want to close my account. Well, which one? And then when it comes to actually answering, it's very rare that in a bank somebody would be given free rein to answer out of an entire knowledge base. Actually, when you get in touch with a bank, there's usually a procedure that that agent needs to follow behind the scenes. So, oh, you want a new card? Well, the first step is not to send you a card. The first step would probably be to verify your identity. Once those answers start coming out, obviously this ultimate goal being to resolve the customer's query, but then we need to factor in again that LLMs are those very, very junior employees, and they will make a fantastic range of mistakes, both general mistakes that would be wrong in any industry and specific mistakes that would be specifically wrong and even illegal within the fintech world. So that's kind of just the starting point, which means that in order to build a customer support agent for a domain that sort of feels obvious, there's actually so much nuanced behavior that happens under the hood. And from there, we take it forward and we start actually building our agent. So before we get to the really cool stuff, what is the basic behavior that you expect of your agent? So here's an actual example that I had with a water utility company. I couldn't log in. I've never logged in or hadn't logged in months. And it called me, hi, I can't log in, right? So I'm not sort of assuming that they have an AI agent here. Maybe it's just a race condition in a system. But this is actually the first place where things can go very wrong. And so when a customer is talking to an AI agent or interacting with an AI agent, we actually need to encode how we interrupt the AI agent and make it stop when it's trying to do some work because new information has come in, or because some signal from the outside world has happened, or in a variety of cases, something hasn't happened, which is kind of the very tricky thing to reason about. So the most common in customer support being that the customer has just left. Do they still need help? Were they helped sufficiently? And that's actually the lack of signals coming from the outside world that make it a tricky thing. So yeah, this one is just a simple example, but we've seen all sorts of these race conditions that happen, even more nuanced things like the AI agent thinks they've helped the customer, they close the chat, and the customer goes, oh, wait, one more thing. And the customer doesn't want to then recount everything that they just said. They want to carry on the conversation. So there's a variety of fun race conditions that happen in this space. So the way that we model it at Gradient Labs is using our principle of what would a human do. And we've actually encoded our AI agent as this kind of like state machine. And it's a little bit more complicated than this, but I thought a very simple example would help to get the concept across. That if you and I were having a conversation, I would probably be doing one of two things, hopefully. Either talking to you and trying to help you, waiting for your cues that you're finished, or I'd be listening to you. And somehow there's these transitions between these different states. So this is the way that we build our AI agent, and we think about what are the things that it's currently enabled to do. Is it waiting for the customer? Is it actually generating a reply? Is it going out and doing something for the customer? And being able to reason about an AI agent as a state machine, even though this is kind of like an age-old idea, has been very useful to overlay it with things like interrupting the agent. or with things like the customer has left, so stop burning tokens, and so on. So now we go one level deeper. The knowledge that the agent has is effectively describes the range of capabilities that it will be able to have. So we've talked again, this is kind of the first point, that one of the many first points that we talk to companies about, particularly within the world of their customer support. And so we say, what sort of documents do you have? And depending on the company on the other side, sometimes they'll say, we don't have any, because most of our customer support knowledge within the company just sort of spreads by word of mouth. And as a small anecdote of that, there was a, see if I can keep it suitably anonymized, a large international company that due to regulatory reasons within one country, they needed to shut down their operations there. And so they closed that down, and then suddenly they had a surge of customer support requests of customers wanting to change their address, which if you had a very junior employee, they would just say, okay, I'll change your address. Okay, I'll change your address. What was actually happening was that all the customers in that jurisdiction that needed to be shut down were suddenly trying to say they didn't live there anymore. And what happened within the company was that this knowledge that that country was being shut down was being announced. It wasn't being documented. And there was just a race against customers for a long time, because what customers would do is if they got in touch with the agent who knew, the agent would say, sorry, you're not allowed to, we're shutting down our operations there. They would just get in touch again, get through to an agent who didn't know, and that agent would say, sweet, yeah, I'll change your address. And so this is actually probably the biggest institutional problem, which is that knowledge broadly within a company doesn't live in databases. The other two are a bit more nuanced. So I suppose the quick way of describing the second one is, would you feel comfortable publishing all of your company documentation onto the internet? Probably not. Would your customers be happy if they saw what your guidance is for dealing with fraudulent customers who are trying to steal money from you? Maybe not. And this is kind of reminiscent of what I was saying earlier, that we kind of take it for granted that if an employee is reading a document that says, here's how to treat customers who have been marked with a red flag, then those employees won't go and tell the customers, sorry, you've got a red flag, I can't help you, right? But an LLM might, actually. So that leads to my third and final point, that a lot of company documentation is actually not written with an AI agent in mind. And the simplest example that I've seen of that, when companies throw all their documents at an AI agent, is invariably somewhere in a document, it'll say, if the customer has this problem, they need to get in touch with us. And then the customer is talking to the AI agent and says, oh, you have that problem, please get in touch with us. And I am here, in touch with you already, is what's happening. So it ranges from the minute, frustrating interactions all the way through to arguably, cases where you could be tipping off the customer that they are under investigation, and that's breaking the law. So the way we model it at Gradient Labs is we actually have a bunch of AI agents that work behind the scenes just to prepare the knowledge. And so for the knowledge that is living in people's heads, we examine historical conversations that they've had with customers and look for repeated facts that they're saying about the company. Does my card work in France? Yes, it works in France. Do they say that 100 different times to 100 different customers? Then it's probably true overall. Do they say it once to one customer? Then it might be true just for that customer. And do they say it 50 times? Well, maybe we should surface that fact as something a human can approve or decline. We also use a similar editor agent to just strip out the things from documents that would make an LLM say, dumb things. And finally, in the product that we're building, we have a very clear distinction between knowledge, which is basically a set of documents and facts, and procedural guidance, which is how to resolve a particular case. So requesting a bank statement might be a good one, because if a customer is requesting a bank statement, you might need to know what time period, whether they need it signed or not, what purpose the bank statement is for. Again, you might need to verify their identity. You might need to know whether it's an electronic or a postal bank statement, and so on. So there's actually a range of questions that need to be answered before you even know what the right action is to take. So speaking of actions, that's on to the third point, which is tools. This is actually why AI agents are so exciting. In all of the previous machine learning systems that I've spent time working on, ultimately it was just the component that Vivek was mentioning of the decision engine. So is this transaction fraud? Yes. We send the yes. Is a customer looking for flights from London to New York? We find them and we ship them off elsewhere. The fact that AI agents can use tools is now bringing together the world of AI and decision-making with the actual outcomes that can be achieved. So the AI agent is saying, I think the most suitable thing for me to do now is call this API, which will send a bank statement to the customer. But I suppose, again, let's imagine you've got that junior employee. Would you give them access to all of the APIs in your company? And the answer is invariably no. So let's, again, imagine you are a food delivery company, and one of the things that the AI agent might need to know is what has the customer ordered. But would you feel okay giving an AI agent that is even 99% right access to a tool to retrieve any customer's order on your system? So the answer for that in most of the enterprise companies that we talk to is it's not a feasible thing to allow. Even 99% accuracy means that 1% of the time this AI agent might retrieve the wrong order and talk to a customer about somebody else's order, and that's just not something that we can tolerate at all. So that's sort of the first thing, and then the second thing being that if we go back into the world of banking, it's very rare for a customer support agent themselves to have permission to do everything. And so not all tools are equal. Some tools even require 2 humans to approve something. So I believe that would be the case if you contacted your bank and asked them to transfer a very, very high sum of money. There are known incidents in the industry where one person has just typed in a number and turned out they were typing it into the wrong field, and they typed a sort code into a amount field. And so if humans can make that mistake, it's likely AI agents could as well, and that would lead to terrible, terrible outcomes. So the final one is the more technical one. And effectively, now that we empower an agent with tools, that you get into this weird state. So let's say a simple example here being that your AI agent retrieves your account status, and it shows that you're a premium customer, and then you ask it to downgrade, so it downgrades you, and now that first tool that I called has been invalidated, actually. But the AI agent might not know that. And so you end up in a weird state where the customer has actually been downgraded, but the AI agent says, yeah, you've still got a premium account. And again, we're back into that cycle of bad outcomes. So the way we're building it is thinking around this level of safety. And so instead of just empowering AI agents with tools, we empower companies to decide which data points do they want to give to the AI agent at the beginning of a conversation. And that decision then lands in the hands of the operations people and the engineers of, is this something that we want to give? like the customer order, like the customer transactions, like their fraud status, as opposed to, is this something that we want the agent to be allowed to retrieve? And secondly, although an agent may be empowered with like 10, 15, 20 tools, while it's working on a specific case, part of the way that we build it is that it has to narrow down which tools it's even allowed to use. So broadly, we use like an intent classification system, and if you are getting in touch about your bank statement, then the tools related to your fraud status may be completely irrelevant and therefore out of bounds for the AI agent to use completely. And then, finally, it's the guardrails. So this is a mechanism that we use to guard against the mistakes that AI agents and LLMs are bound to make. So I'll color this with a few anecdotes as well, based on talking with different companies and our own experience as well. So the first one is that AI agents are notoriously great at telling you that they're going to do things and then not doing them. And we recently heard from a company where they had their customers talking to an AI agent, and there was some problem related to travel. And the AI agent said, great, can I have your phone number? We'll call you. And the customer put in their phone number, and the AI agent said, great, we'll call you, and then closed the ticket. And the complaint from the company was that they don't do outbound calls at all. And obviously that's not documented in their corpus because they don't do it. It's a service they just don't provide. And so we've seen this time and time again, that AI agents claim they'll have done something for you when they cannot. Yeah, I've downgraded your account. Yeah, I've sent you a bank statement. Yeah, I've done this. So we really, when an AI agent makes that claim, we need it to be supported by evidence. Second one is the most popular fear when it comes to AI agents, of them making claims that are unsupported. In your documentation, this is popularly known as hallucinations. And there's actually a very tricky and gray line here. To Vivek's earlier point, these LLMs are trained on the body of the entire internet. And so they actually know a lot of things that are right and also that are outdated. And there's been this interesting tension when we build AI agents that if a customer gets in touch with you and you're a bank and they say, how do I book a flight? Then the AI agent actually, without any controls, would know how to tell the customer that. And there are like known cases of people getting in touch. I think it was, I saw it on Twitter, that people got in touch with the Amazon customer support bot and got it to generate code for them. How do I write this in Python? And it would answer. So there's actually different angles of this problem of like, is your AI agent even allowed to talk about this topic? And if it is allowed to talk about this topic, do you want it to be allowed to talk about it using its own world knowledge or just the knowledge that you've given it? And there's actually a very tricky balance there because LLMs, for example, would know how to instruct someone on how to go and cancel their Amazon Prime account just from crawling, having been trained on the entire internet. But maybe when that customer gets in touch with you, you don't want the AI agent to say, it should say, I don't know. Finally, there's the element that is near and dear to our heart, which is the fintech industry. And again, it's easy to describe this with an example of, may I have a bank statement? Yeah, sure. May I have a bank statement because I'm being kicked out of my house? Right? Yeah, sure is not the right thing to do anymore. And so in banks, if you're displaying signs of financial vulnerability, where becoming homeless is one of them, then even if the AI agent told you the right thing, here's how to get a bank statement, or I've sent you a bank statement, then it's done the wrong thing. And so this is where it ranges from things that LLMs get wrong in general for any industry, all the way through to how it can be wrong specifically in the fintech world. So the way we approach this is thinking that no outcome is better than a best effort one. And this is where we are a little bit loud about, even though we're a co-founding team of data scientists effectively, that we think that the numbers are hiding these bad outcomes, where there are AI agents out there that say, we do 80–90% of your work, but somewhere in that 90%, there's those really bad problems happening. So instead, our focus is on enabling companies to explicitly disallow certain topics from being spoken to, and take it one step further and route those customers to the right team. And then we add in a bunch of different configurable guardrails, specifically vulnerability and financial difficulties, complaint intents, tipping off, all these sort of things that are so meaningful for the world of finance. Ironically, to the title of this event, right now, financial advice is one of the ones that is very out of bounds for AI agents. And actually, we guard against it. And so if a customer says, you know, how do I, should I open a premium account? Then the AI agent says, well, here's all the benefits of a premium account, but it's on you to decide. Right now, we're still not there yet of where Sam Altman preaches about having a very super smart employee. We still think those employees are quite junior and they need to be course corrected, even to the extent of stopping them in their tracks and saying, okay, you can no longer help this customer, let's send them to the right place. So that's the whirlwind tour. And one of the last things is that at Gradient Labs, we've been tracking how often people thank our AI agent, actually. Because that's kind of the ultimate sign that, that things are going well. It seems very counterintuitive. Most of customer support bot interactions are mired with frustration. And so the first time that someone said, you've been amazing, or please send me that CSAT survey, we started tracking that as the true sign of success, that someone has been so pleased with the outcome that they even want to say thank you to a software system. So that's my talk for today. Thanks so much for coming, and I'll be around for the whole event if you have any questions.